The classroom was not on Earth. It floated in space, inside a massive galactic academy that trained the brightest minds of the universe. The walls were made of light. The air adjusted itself for every species inside. Everything here was controlled, safe, and perfect. Professor Zelf stood in the center of the room. He was tall, thin, and calm. With one claw, he activated a hologram. A planet appeared. Blue. Green. Alive. This, the professor said, is Planet Sol 3. Common name. Earth. The room went quiet for 1 second. Then laughter spread. Alien students leaned forward, their eyes scanning the data. Numbers flashed around the planet. Gravity levels. Weather patterns. Natural disasters. Biological threats. One student laughed loudly. "Professor, is this a joke?" Another waved a tentacle at the screen. So many storms. So many quakes. Volcanoes, floods, predators everywhere. A third student shook his head. "This planet is unstable. No balance. No control." The professor did not stop them. He waited. More data appeared. Earth had wars. Diseases. Harsh climates. Dangerous animals. Sudden disasters with no warning. The students laughed again. "Who would design this?" one asked. "It looks like a failed experiment." "Exactly," another said. "A prototype that should have been deleted." At the back of the classroom, a human sat quietly. His name was Daniel. He was part of an exchange program. One human among 50 alien students. He wore the academy uniform like the others. His face was calm. His hands rested on the desk. No one looked at him. The professor raised a claw, and the room slowly became silent. "Earth," he said, "was one of the early life worlds studied by the Council." A student interrupted. "Studied? Why? It clearly failed." The professor turned his eyes to the student. "Failed? By whose standards?" The student paused. "By logical standards. Life should be protected. Risk should be reduced." Many heads nodded. The professor changed the hologram. This time, it showed safety regulations used across the galaxy. Soft climates. Stable gravity. No extreme threats. "Most worlds," the professor said, "are designed like this." He switched back to Earth. "This world is not." Laughter returned, louder than before. "Exactly," a student said. "No safety lessons. No protection." Another added, "Any species growing here must be weak. Or lucky." Daniel looked at the hologram. He had seen these storms. He had felt that gravity. He had grown up with those dangers. He said nothing. The professor looked around the room. "You all believe Earth is a mistake," he said slowly. "Yes," several students answered together. "Good," the professor replied. The word surprised them. "Then tomorrow," he continued, "you will test your belief." The lights dimmed. The hologram changed again. This time, it showed a simulation chamber. "You will enter an Earth environment simulation," the professor said. "No filters. No safety limits." The room went silent. One student laughed nervously. "Professor, simulations always have limits." The professor's eyes narrowed. "Not this one." Some students shifted in their seats. The professor added one final detail. "You will experience Earth as humans do. Weather. Gravity. Risk." A pause. Then he said, "And you will do it without human safety guidance." Slowly, all eyes turned to the back of the room. To Daniel. He felt their stares for the first time. Daniel met their eyes, calm and quiet. He did not smile. He did not warn them. The bell rang. Class dismissed. As the alien students left, still laughing but now unsure, Daniel stood up and walked out last. Behind him, the hologram of Earth kept spinning. Wild. Dangerous. Alive. And tomorrow, the galaxy would step onto it. The next day, the simulation chamber opened. It was massive, dark, and cold. Smooth metal walls curved high above the students. Lights moved slowly, like breathing. In the center of the room, a glowing platform waited. Alien students gathered in small groups. They still laughed, but the sound was weaker now. Some checked their gear again and again. Others whispered to each other. Daniel stood apart. He looked calm. His posture was relaxed, like this was nothing new. Professor Zeltha's voice echoed through the chamber. "Today, you will enter an Earth environment simulation," he said. "There will be no comfort settings. No safety filters." A student raised a claw. "What about emergency exits?" "There are none," the professor replied. The room went quiet. The platform lit up. "Simulation will begin in 10 seconds, an artificial voice said. Alien hearts beat faster. Some swallowed hard. Others forced a laugh. Daniel stepped forward without hesitation. The light surrounded them. Suddenly, the metal floor vanished. They landed on solid ground. Hard ground. Several students stumbled and fell. "What is this pressure?" one shouted. Gravity pulled them down with force. It was heavy, unforgiving. Daniel adjusted his stance and stayed upright. "This gravity is insane," another student gasped. "My legs feel weak." Before anyone could respond, wind hit them. Strong, cold, loud. The sky above was gray and moving fast. Clouds rolled like angry waves. The air smelled wet and sharp. Rain began to fall. Not gentle rain. It slammed into them. Students cried out in shock. Their clothes soaked within seconds. Some tried to activate shields, but nothing happened. "Why is it not stopping?" one screamed. "This is normal," Daniel said calmly. They stared at him. "What do you mean normal?" a student demanded. Before Daniel could answer, the ground shook. A deep rumble rolled under their feet. Several students fell again. One screamed in panic. "Earthquake," Daniel said. His voice stayed steady. The shaking stopped, but fear did not. Warning messages appeared in the air. High wind. Low temperature. Terrain risk. The warnings kept flashing. The alien students froze. "There are too many alerts," one said. "What do we do first?" Daniel looked around. He scanned the land. Trees bent in the wind. Water flowed downhill, fast and dangerous. He pointed. "Move away from low ground," he said. "Find higher land. Now." "But the warnings say." "Move," Daniel repeated. Something in his voice made them listen. They followed him, slipping and struggling. Their bodies were not built for this world. Every step was hard. The wind grew stronger. One student slipped and hit the ground hard. He cried out in pain. Daniel ran back. He lifted the student without thinking and pulled him forward. "How are you still standing?" the injured student asked through shaking breaths. Daniel did not slow down. "We learn early," he said, "or we don't last." Thunder cracked across the sky. Several students screamed. "This planet is insane," someone shouted. "No world should be like this." Daniel stopped on higher ground. He looked back at them. "This is not insane," he said quietly. "This is home." The rain kept falling. The wind kept pushing. The student stood there, soaked, tired, and scared. For the first time, no one laughed. And somewhere deep inside them, a new thought formed. Earth was not weak. Earth was trying to kill them. And humans had survived it. The storm did not stop. Rain kept falling from the dark sky. The wind pushed hard, like it wanted to throw them away. The ground stayed cold and wet under their feet. Alien students stood close together. Their bodies shook, not only from the cold, but from fear. Their breathing was fast and uneven. Daniel stood a few steps ahead of them. He watched the land carefully. His eyes moved from the sky to the ground, then to the trees. He was not relaxed, but he was focused. Another warning appeared in the air. Flash flood risk. Before the students could react, water rushed through the low ground below them. It moved fast, carrying mud and broken branches. One student screamed, "We are going to die here." Daniel turned back. "No," he said firmly. "Not if you listen." His voice cut through the noise of the storm. He pointed to a line of rocks higher up the slope. "Follow me," he said. "Stay close. Watch your step." They hesitated. This world felt wrong to them. Every instinct told them to freeze, to wait for help. But help did not come. So they followed the human. As they moved, the wind grew stronger. One student lost balance and almost fell into the rushing water. Daniel grabbed him and pulled him back. "Why are you helping us?" the student asked, his voice shaking. Daniel did not look at him. "Because that's how we survive." They reached the rocks. Daniel showed them how to brace themselves, how to keep low, how to use the land for cover. His movements were simple. Nothing fancy. Just things he had learned growing up. The students copied him. Slowly, their panic eased. One student looked at Daniel with wide eyes. "How do you know all this?" Daniel paused. He looked out at the storm. "Because this happens," he said. "Again and again." The student did not understand. "You train for this." Daniel shook his head. "No. We live with it." Thunder rolled across the sky. Another student whispered, "So humans are not fearless." Daniel turned to him. "No," he said honestly. "We feel fear. All the time." That answer surprised them. "Then why do you look so calm?" the student asked. Daniel thought for a moment. "Because fear is not new to us," he said. "It's just familiar." The storm slowly began to weaken. The rain softened. The wind slowed. The alien students were exhausted. Their bodies hurt. Their minds felt heavy. They looked at the human again. "This planet tries to kill you," one said quietly. "Every day." Daniel nodded. "Yes." "Then why stay?" another asked. "Why not leave Earth?" Daniel smiled slightly. Not proud. Not angry. "Because Earth made us," he said. "It taught us how to stand back up." The simulation suddenly froze. The rain stopped in midair. The wind went silent. The world paused like a held breath. The students stood still, hearts pounding. A new message appeared. Simulation phase 1 complete. They looked around, confused. Then they looked at Daniel. For the first time, they did not see a weak species. They saw something else. A species shaped by danger. A species that did not wait for safety. A species that learned to move forward, even while afraid. The simulation had shown them something important. Humans did not fear death. They understood it. And that made them dangerous. The simulation faded away. The storm disappeared. The land vanished. The students felt weightless for a moment, then their feet touched smooth metal again. They were back in the classroom. No one spoke. Water still dripped from their clothes. Their bodies felt heavy and tired, even though the danger was gone. Some students sat down slowly. Others leaned against the walls. Daniel stood quietly near the platform. Professor Zelf stepped forward. His face was serious now. No calm smile. No distance. "You have experienced Earth," he said. "Not all of it. Just a small part." One student finally spoke. His voice was low. "That world is broken." Professor Zelf looked at him. "No," he replied. "That world is honest." The student looked confused. "It does not protect life," the student said. "It allows pain. Death." Professor Zelf nodded. "Yes," he said. "And because of that, it creates something rare." The professor raised a claw, and the hologram of Earth appeared again. This time, it showed humans. Not cities. Not machines. Just people. People running in storms. People rebuilding after disasters. People helping each other. Earth was never meant to be safe, the professor said. It was a test. Murmurs filled the room. A test? Someone asked. Yes, the professor continued. A pressure world. A stress world. He looked around slowly. Most species were designed to grow in comfort, he said. They needed protection to survive. He paused. Humans did not. The room stayed silent. Earth was labeled a failed prototype, the professor said, because it broke every rule we believed in. He turned toward Daniel. But it did not fail, he said. It succeeded, beyond expectation. Daniel did not react. He just listened. One student stood up. Professor, she said, if Earth was so dangerous, why did humans survive? The professor smiled slightly. Because they adapted, he said. They learned. They changed. He pointed to Daniel. They did not wait for safety lessons, he said. They wrote them with experience. The students looked at Daniel. This time, their eyes were different. No laughter. No mockery. Only respect and fear. Daniel finally spoke. His voice was calm and simple. We fall, he said. We get hurt. He paused. Then we stand up again. The words were plain. But they hit hard. One student swallowed. So humans don't fear death, he said. Daniel shook his head. No, he answered. We just don't let it stop us. Professor Zelf nodded. Deathworlders, he said, are not brave because they are strong. He looked at the class. They are strong because they had no other choice. The bell rang. But no one moved. The lesson was not over in their minds. As the students slowly gathered their things, whispers followed Daniel. He walked through that storm like it was nothing. He didn't panic. He saved us. Daniel walked toward the exit. Before he left, Professor Zelf spoke one last time. Tomorrow, he said, you will learn the final lesson. The professor's eyes were serious. You will learn what happens when the galaxy underestimates Earth. Daniel paused at the door. He did not turn back. The students watched him leave. They no longer saw a weak species from a failed world. They saw something far more dangerous. A survivor. The next day, the classroom was full again. But it was not the same. Alien students sat quietly in their seats. No laughter. No jokes. No careless smiles. The memory of Earth was still fresh in their minds. Daniel took his seat at the back, as always. Professor Zelf entered the room and stood in the center. He did not speak right away. He looked at the students, one by one. Yesterday, he said, you faced a world that does not care. He activated the hologram. This time, it was not Earth. It was a symbol. A red warning mark appeared over the planet. Earth has been officially reclassified, the professor said. The students leaned forward. It is no longer listed as a failed prototype, he continued. It is now labeled an extreme survival world. A quiet sound moved through the room. Shock. Respect. Fear. Humans, the professor said, are now recognized as Deathworlders. Some students looked at Daniel again. One student stood up slowly. We were wrong, he said. We laughed. He paused, then added, we didn't understand. Another student stood. That world nearly broke us, she said. But he guided us. She nodded toward Daniel. He never acted superior, she continued. He just survived. Daniel stayed seated. His face showed no pride. Professor Zelf raised a claw. From this day forward, he announced, human survival studies will be mandatory in this academy. The room went silent. Humans will teach adaptation, he said. Decision-making under pressure. Survival without safety nets. Some students felt a chill. The galaxy had always believed safety created strength. Now they knew better. After class, Students gathered near the exit. One approached Daniel carefully. "Why didn't you warn us?" the student asked. Daniel thought for a moment. "Because warnings don't teach," he said. "Experience does." The student nodded slowly. Outside the academy, news spread fast. Across systems and stars, reports were shared. Earth was not weak. Earth was not broken. Earth was a trial by fire. Human colonies were re-evaluated. Human advisors were requested. Human training manuals were studied. The galaxy changed its tone. Not fear. Respect. Back in the academy, Professor Zelf looked at the empty classroom. Earth's hologram floated quietly. "So many laughed," he said softly. "They saw chaos." He turned off the display. They never saw the result. Far away, on Earth, storms still came. The ground still shook. Life was still hard. Humans kept living. They worked. They built. They adapted. Not because they were fearless, but because fear was normal. In the silence of space, one truth became clear. Deathworlders did not need safety lessons. They were the lesson. And the galaxy would never underestimate Earth again.